Hello everyone and welcome to the first ever webinar by Kiddofinance, Finance Basics for Children. We are having this webinar on the 3rd of February and this webinar is basically for kids in the age of 9 years to 15 years. I'm going to take you through the interim budget. And what is an interim budget? My name is CA Supriya Pangarkar. I've been a banker for more than 2 decades, and now I have ventured into the activity of teaching finance basics to children. And I'm starting this activity with presenting you this webinar on interim budget today. All the contents of this webinar have been taken from the Finance Ministry website. And of course, the content has been designed so that it is understood well by the age group of 9 to 15 years. So welcome and let us begin this webinar. Today, I'm going to take you through what exactly is a union budget, what's the interim budget, how has the interim budget this time been, what are the focus areas of this budget, what were the major announcements, and then we will wind up with some trivia. Last 10 minutes, of course, we'll be keeping for the question and answer session. What exactly is a union budget? So all of you children, you always attend birthdays. And I'm sure your parents and you must be having a discussion about what is the amount that you're going to spend on giving a present to whoever's birthday you're going to, right? And basis on that expected price, you go into the shop and find out what you're going to purchase. A budget, a union budget, is exactly something like that. The government decides that for which activity pertaining to the nation, how much money they are going to spend. So, a budget is an estimate of income and expenditure for the country as a whole for a definite duration. So, the union budget provides the budgetary estimates for the next financial year. What is a financial year? Financial year is different from a calendar year. A financial year begins on the 1st of April and ends on the 31st of March of the next year. So the union budget that will be presented this time will be for the period starting from April 24 and ending in March 25. However, this time there is a little bit of a complication for our country. The elections are coming up. This government is going to face the elections in a very short time. Elections are scheduled to be held somewhere in April or May. So this time, the government could not present a complete union budget. They had to go in for something which is called an interim budget. What is an interim budget? An interim budget is a budget which is presented by a government when it's in the transition period. That is, it is going to face full-fledged elections in a short period of time. Even if the government is going to face elections, that does not mean that the country stops working, right? So that is why this government is allowed to present a budget which will take care of the incomes and expenditure for the country till the time the new government comes in. So this is a voter account. It is actually an advance grant to the government to cover the short-term expenditure requirements till the new financial year begins. And since this time the elections are likely to happen in May, the new government should be in place by say June or July, and it is in July when the new government is in office that the complete union budget will be presented. Budget for a home is in a few thousands rupees or in a few lakhs rupees. But you know how the budget of a country looks? Just look at this table. Our budget, India's budget, the revenue expenditure budgeted for the financial year 2024-25 was 36,54,857 crores. That is the huge kind of income and expenditure that the government has to study and put up when it presents a budget to the people of India. Look at the receipts. The receipts are 30 lakh crores and the expenditure against it is 36 lakh crores. So you would wonder, so are we making as a government, are we making a loss? So in the budget terms, it's not actually called a loss, it's called a revenue deficit. Now, is this deficit good or bad? Well, for a developing country like ours, a revenue deficit actually shows that the government is going all out to do development for the country, assuming that all the money that they are putting into the development today is going to give us big returns in the coming future. And the revenue deficit, as you can see in this table, has actually been giving a downturn. As the developments are being made by the government, the revenue deficit percentage as a percentage of GDP, that is the gross domestic product, is going down year on year. In 22-23, it was 3.9%. It's come down to 2.8% in FY 23-24, and for 24-25, the government expects it to go down further to 2%. This table has been taken from the Union Budget documentation available on the PRS website. So, even if we are looking at this table and seeing a deficit, the deficit in the long term would help a country grow, especially a developing country. Now, what is this budget? What is this revenue expenditure? What is this revenue income? From where does the government get its money and where does it spend? Let us see. 1 rupee, a rupee, if you speak about a rupee for the government comes from the various things like shown in this chart. The major portion is the taxes that it takes from all of us. The income tax, all of you are aware about income tax, all your parents pay income tax. Then there is a corporation tax, that is what the companies pay as tax on the income get taken by them. Then there is something called as indirect taxes, that is the taxes like sales tax, GST. Apart from that, there are non-debt capital receipts, that is the government also earns interest and dividend, from the investments that it has done or from the loans that it has given. Those are called the non-debt capital receipts. Then the government also borrows to take care of its expenditure. Those are the borrowings and other liabilities. So this whole round diagram will show you as to where does a rupee that a government is spending come from. Now we go to where does this rupee go to? What does the government do as spending? As you can see, the major portion obviously goes to the interest payments, whatever the government, as you saw, we have a deficit. So then the government does do borrowings and then it has to pay interest on it. So the rupee goes to these interest payments. Also, government is running a lot of central schemes, right? What are these schemes? Let me give you a simple example. Suppose one of you wants to put up a factory. For the factory, you will have to purchase machinery. Government says, you purchase the machinery. I want my economy to grow. I want a lot of industries to come into my country. So you purchase the machinery. We as the government will help you with a certain percentage of your machinery cost as a subsidy. This is a very simple scheme that I'm talking about. So there are various such schemes or subsidies that the government is helping out all of us through. Those are called central sector schemes or subsidies. The other major portion is defense. While our country is not facing any immediate challenges of war-like situation or anything like that, but we have to be ready at any point of time. Our defense has to be ready. It has to be equipped with the state-of-the-art, modern, latest warfare machinery. And that is why defense spending is also a major portion of our spending by the government. Then, whatever the government is earning, it also, there is a part that the states also have in that. So, some of the earning of the government goes to the state share of taxes and duties. Government also pays pension to many officials. So part of the rupee goes to the pensions also. So this is how whatever the government is earning is given back to us through various means. This time in the interim budget, what were the focus areas? Well, as you know, the focus areas for the past few years by the government have been Garib Vikas. There has been a lot of talk about empowering youth. Welfare of farmers has been taken care of very well, and of course, the women empowerment. The many digital initiatives that the government is taking has actually helped the government save a lot of money. A simple example which you all can understand, I can give you. The central government schemes that we talked about in the previous slide, that that involves the government passing on certain amount of money to those entrepreneurs who are doing all these expenses. What used to happen in the past is this money used to reach the entrepreneur through various people. And then there were places where the money got lost in between due to various reasons, which we'll not get into. What was done a few years back is these digital initiatives that are being done everywhere. What was done was that this particular subsidies or these schemes or this share that the government is taking out of the expenses has been started getting directly transferred to the person who has applied for it, directly to his savings or current account, due to which the direct benefit transfers have actually led to savings of rupees 2.7 lakhs crores for the government, because this money getting lost in between problem was completely solved. The government is doing a lot of things for encouraging youth to do entrepreneurial activities. Welfare of farmers through digitizing the agricultural mandis or giving direct financial assistance to farmers, increasing the women labor force, increasing female enrollment in higher education are all the things which have been a focus area and remain to be a focus area in this interim budget also. Digital public infrastructure, immunization, all these remain to be focus areas. The major announcements that were done in this interim budget was the continuing emphasis towards a net zero carbon neutrality of this country by 2070. Adoption of e-buses will be encouraged. E-vehicle ecosystem will be encouraged. Infrastructure, there are going to be implementation of 3 major railway corridors so that the movement of mineral and cement, port connectivity, and high traffic density corridors are taken care of, which will help quick movement of the required goods. And when the required goods move quickly, obviously the expenses involved in the movement go down. People get the required goods in the shortest period possible, which also leads to further improvement for the people who are going to use those goods later. Existing airports will be expanded. There will be new development of airports. Urban transport transformation has been undertaken by development of metro rail and the Namo Bharat scheme. For the inclusive development, health and tourism, we all know that there are a lot of things happening on these. Focus is going to be by the government of getting women registered for antenatal care in the first trimester itself, which will lead to further improvement in infant mortality, which will obviously lead to a healthier India going forward. They are trying to get the immunization activity that is done for kids online so that each and every child in India gets the immunization that it is supposed to get. Medical colleges will be coming in, middle class schemes will be rolled out for housing. Now we come to some fun areas related to budget. Do you know that the halwa ceremony is done before presentation of a union budget every year? Well, the halwa ceremony marks that the team involved in the budget preparation is now going to be under a confidentiality vow. They will work on the budget until the time the budget comes out. They will not be mixing with many people. This is a very old ceremony, and finance minister herself or himself is a part of this Helva ceremony every year. Some of the other trivia like the budget, how it went paperless in 2021. COVID actually helped make the budget paperless in 2021. These are some of the trivia related to our budget. This was